What I'm about to tell you today might make you change your entire morning routine, because danger doesn't always come from where we expect it. Sometimes it starts exactly where we feel completely safe, like your everyday breakfast. Let me paint a picture for you. It's 7:15 in the morning, you're in your kitchen, the coffee is brewing, the sun is just starting to come through the window. You reach into your refrigerator and grab a carton of eggs, the same eggs you've been eating for years. The same method your mother taught you, the same method your grandmother taught her, and the same routine you simply grew up following without question. You crack the egg, you separate the yolk, and you throw it straight into the trash without hesitation. Because at some point, someone told you that egg yolks contain cholesterol, and that cholesterol is bad for the heart. That idea stayed with you, and from that moment forward, the yolk's only destination became the garbage. Or maybe you fry them in butter with cheese, lots of cheese. It looks perfect. It smells amazing. It tastes like breakfast should taste. And you've been eating eggs this way every single morning for the past 15 years. Or maybe you prepare eggs for a family gathering. You cook them, you set them on the table, guests arrive, tea is served, everyone is talking and laughing, and somewhere in the middle of the table, hours pass. Your eggs are still sitting there, untouched, slowly becoming a problem. And here's what I need you to understand. Most people never connect what happened that morning to what happens later. There's no immediate signal, no obvious pain, no warning light that flashes and says, "You made a mistake." The damage may happen inside your body silently, invisibly, without any obvious signal at all. And then one day, suddenly, you find yourself dealing with health consequences you never saw coming, and you realize that the mistake had been happening every single day. My name is Dr. Elias, and you're watching Health Next 365, and I've spent years studying the nutritional health of adults over 60, reading the research, cutting through the noise, and translating what the science actually says into information that genuinely helps people in this age group. Today, I'm going to tell you about 7 specific mistakes people over 60 commonly make when eating eggs. Mistakes they may not even realize they're making. Mistakes that seem completely normal, completely harmless, but that after the age of 60 could quietly affect your health in ways you won't notice until it's too late. But before we begin, I want to make one thing absolutely clear. Eggs are not bad for you. In fact, after the age of 60, eggs can be one of the most valuable foods available to you. They provide high-quality protein that your aging muscles need. They support eye health through specific compounds your body can no longer produce on its own. They contain nutrients essential for brain function. They can help provide lasting energy through your morning. But that's exactly the point. If you don't prepare, store, or eat them properly, a food that can be extraordinarily nutritious can also become a problem. And it's not just one mistake. There are 7 different ways this commonly goes wrong. Some are incredibly simple. Some are more serious. One of them is something I can almost guarantee is still happening in many homes right now. Before we get into these 7 mistakes, tell me in the comments which state you're watching from. I read every single comment, and I genuinely love knowing where my audience is located. It helps me understand who I'm talking to. Mistake number 7, throwing away the egg yolk. A lot of people have been eating eggs for years, but only eat the whites. They crack the egg, separate the yolk, and throw it straight into the trash without a second thought. Why? Because of the cholesterol myth. At some point in the 1980s and 1990s, someone told them that egg yolks contain cholesterol and that cholesterol is inherently bad for the heart. That idea stayed with them. It became part of their identity. I only eat egg whites. I'm watching my cholesterol. And from then on, they've been throwing away some of the most nutrient-dense parts of the entire egg. But here's what the research actually shows. For many healthy people, eating whole eggs, including the yolk, does not automatically increase the risk of heart disease. In fact, studies published in peer-reviewed journals have shown that for most people, dietary cholesterol has far less impact on blood cholesterol levels than was previously believed. Your body manufactures its own cholesterol based on genetics and metabolic factors. Eating an egg is not the dominating factor most people assume, and the yolk contains several nutrients that become increasingly valuable as we get older. The yolk contains choline, an important nutrient involved in brain function, memory, and cognitive processing. Research shows that choline intake is associated with better cognitive outcomes in aging adults. Your aging brain needs this. The yolk contains lutein and zeaxanthin, two compounds specifically associated with eye health and protection against age-related macular degeneration, one of the leading causes of vision loss in people over 60. The yolk also provides vitamin D, which your aging bones need for calcium absorption. It provides selenium, important for immune function. It provides zinc, needed for wound healing and immune response. And the yolk provides these nutrients in a form your body can actually absorb and use efficiently. I want you to meet Margaret. She's 67 years old from Seattle, Washington. Margaret has been eating only egg whites for the past 20 years. She'd been diagnosed with high cholesterol in her late 40s, and from that point forward, she made it a point to discard every yolk, 20 years of eggs, 20 years of throwing away the most nutrient-dense part. When she came to me, she had been struggling with declining cognitive function and early memory issues that worried her. Her doctor had suggested this might just be normal aging, but when we reviewed her nutritional intake, one thing stood out immediately. Her choline intake was substantially below optimal levels. We discussed the research on whole eggs and cholesterol. We looked at her actual cholesterol numbers. They were actually well controlled. We talked about what she was missing by discarding the yolk. She made the decision to start eating whole eggs again, not every day, 3 to 4 times per week. She prepared them with vegetables, kept portions reasonable, and started getting the full nutritional benefit. Within 8 weeks, she reported noticing improved mental clarity. Within 12 weeks, her cognitive function testing showed measurable improvement in memory and processing speed. Not because something was wrong before, but because her brain was finally getting a nutrient it had been deficient in for 2 decades. Unless your doctor has specifically advised you to limit egg yolks due to a particular medical condition, don't automatically assume that the yolk needs to go into the trash. You may have been throwing away some of the most valuable nutrition available to your aging body. Mistake number 6. Frying eggs in excessive fat and adding lots of cheese. This mistake is so common that you may be thinking, what's wrong with that? Eggs fried in butter, ghee, or lots of oil, covered with melted cheese. It looks like the perfect breakfast. It does. It smells amazing. It tastes amazing. But here's the mechanism that most people don't understand. The egg itself, the protein, the nutrients, the compounds we just discussed, those are valuable. The problem isn't the egg. The problem is what you add to it and how much you add. If you regularly load your eggs with large amounts of saturated fat, excess calories, and heavily processed ingredients, your overall daily nutrition becomes less heart-friendly. Your arteries have to work harder. Your blood pressure has more pressure to manage. Your metabolic system has to process excess calories your body doesn't need. This becomes particularly important if you already have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, or if you've been advised by your doctor to take extra care of your cardiovascular system. And at 60, many people have at least one of these conditions. Eating a rich egg breakfast once in a while is not the same as eating one loaded with excessive fat every single morning for years. Let me give you a specific example. Robert is 71 years old from Houston, Texas. Robert has always loved eggs. But his version of eggs for breakfast meant 3 eggs fried in 3 tablespoons of butter, topped with a full cup of shredded cheddar cheese, every single morning, for the past 12 years. When he came to me, his doctor had recently found elevated LDL cholesterol and was considering starting him on medication. Robert wanted to understand what was happening with his diet first. When we looked at his breakfast, the numbers were striking. A single breakfast was providing nearly 800 calories, 60 grams of fat, and 35 grams of saturated fat. That's more saturated fat than many dietary guidelines recommend for an entire day. And he was consuming this amount just at breakfast. But here's what matters. Robert didn't want to give up eggs. He loved eggs. He just needed a different approach. We made a simple change. 2 eggs instead of 3. 1 tablespoon of olive oil instead of 3 tablespoons of butter. The cheese was replaced with sautéed vegetables, spinach, tomatoes, mushrooms, peppers, which added flavor, nutrition, and satiety without the excess saturated fat. The meal still tasted good. It still felt like breakfast. But the nutritional profile changed dramatically. Same breakfast, but now it was 380 calories instead of 800, 30 grams of fat instead of 60, 12 grams of saturated fat instead of 35. His total daily saturated fat intake became reasonable again. Within 6 weeks, his cholesterol levels began improving. Within 12 weeks, his doctor said medication might not be necessary. His breakfast hadn't destroyed him, but the way it was prepared had become a problem. The point is this: you don't have to give up eggs, you just have to change how you prepare them. Use a small amount of cooking oil or consider a lighter cooking method like poaching or boiling. Add vegetables like spinach, tomatoes, mushrooms, onions, or peppers. You still get your eggs, you still get great flavor, but you make the overall meal much more balanced. Mistake number 5. Leaving cooked eggs sitting out at room temperature for too long. This one often happens when there's a celebration at home. Maybe it's a family gathering, maybe guests have arrived, the table is full of food, tea is being served. Everyone is talking, laughing, and enjoying themselves. And somewhere in the middle of the table is a plate of cooked eggs. Nobody notices how much time has passed. 2 hours go by, 3 hours. Nobody is counting, nobody is thinking about food safety. Everyone is just enjoying the moment. Here's the critical part that most people don't understand. Cooked eggs are perishable food. They shouldn't be left at room temperature for long periods. A standard food safety guideline is to refrigerate perishable foods within 2 hours. When the surrounding temperature is above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, that window shrinks to 1 hour. Why? Because harmful bacteria multiply rapidly in the danger zone between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And the frustrating part is that the egg may look completely normal. It may smell normal. Its color may look exactly the same. You may have absolutely no idea that bacteria have multiplied inside it. This matters even more as we get older, because adults over 65 are at higher risk of developing serious complications from foodborne illnesses. Your immune system is less aggressive than it was at 40. Your digestive system is less resilient. What might cause mild discomfort in a younger person can cause serious illness in someone over 60. I want to tell you about Patricia. She's 69 years old from Phoenix, Arizona. Patricia hosts a weekly family gathering every Sunday. She makes breakfast for her children and grandchildren. She loves this tradition. It's meaningful to her. One Sunday, she prepared a large platter of scrambled eggs early in the morning. She set it out for breakfast around 8 a.m. Her family arrived around 9:30. They ate, they talked, they enjoyed time together. Her grandchildren ran around the house. Patricia was distracted. She was present with her family. By the time everyone left around 1 p.m., the eggs had been sitting out for nearly 5 hours. Patricia didn't think twice about it. She put the leftover eggs in the refrigerator and figured she'd use them later in the week. 2 days later, she ate those eggs as part of a lunch. Within 4 hours, she developed severe stomach cramps and nausea. Within 12 hours, she had significant diarrhea and a low fever. She was sick for 3 days. She missed work. She was miserable. Her grandchildren were fine. Her children were fine. Patricia was the only one who got seriously ill. And the reason wasn't that she was doing anything wrong. It was that her immune system, being 69 years old, had less ability to fight off the bacteria that had been multiplying in those eggs for hours. This isn't about frightening you. It's about giving you something you can actually control. If you're serving food at home, keep hot foods hot and cold foods cold. Refrigerate leftovers promptly. And if food has been sitting out for too long and you're unsure about its safety, it's better to throw it away than to risk serious illness. Wasting one serving of food is a much smaller problem than spending several days sick in bed. Mistake number 4, touching everything after handling raw eggshells. This mistake happens quietly. It's so subtle that most people don't even realize it's happening. You crack an egg, something gets on your hand. Maybe it's just a tiny bit of shell. Maybe it's a little bit of raw egg. Instead of washing your hands immediately, you wipe them on a nearby towel. Then you pick up a piece of bread. You grab your teacup. You open your medicine box. You touch your face. And suddenly, whatever was on your hands may have been transferred to those surfaces. eggshells can carry bacteria such as salmonella. And the problem isn't just the shell itself. The problem is what happens when you touch other objects after handling raw eggs without properly washing your hands. You may not see the bacteria, you may not smell them, you may not feel them, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. This is one of those kitchen habits that becomes normal simply because people have been doing it for years. Their mother did it, their grandmother did it, so they do it. Nobody got sick, so it must be fine. But the research is clear. Cross-contamination from raw eggs is a documented source of foodborne illness. I want to tell you about David. He's 64 years old from Atlanta, Georgia. David has eaten eggs every morning of his life. He's from the South. Breakfast means eggs. It's part of his identity. One morning, he cracked eggs for his breakfast. He touched the eggshells, wiped his hands on a kitchen towel, and then immediately prepared his morning medications. He has high blood pressure and takes 3 different medications. He prepared them, lined them up, took them with orange juice. Later that day, his stomach started feeling off. By evening, he had nausea. By the next morning, he had diarrhea. He assumed it was something he ate the night before, but it wasn't. It was salmonella that had been on the eggshells, transferred to his hands, transferred to his medication bottles, and then transferred to his hands again when he picked up his medications. He was sick for 5 days. He missed work. He spent those days managing gastrointestinal illness when he could have prevented it with one simple habit. The solution is simple. After handling raw eggs, wash your hands thoroughly with soap and warm water for at least 20 seconds. Clean surfaces that came into contact with raw egg. Use separate cutting boards for raw eggs and ready-to-eat foods. These simple habits can help protect you and everyone else eating in your home. Mistake number 3, trusting the date without understanding proper egg storage. This is the mistake that makes people say, "I've been doing this for years and nothing happened." But food safety isn't a game of chance. It's a matter of understanding the rules and following them consistently. The date printed on an egg carton isn't something you should simply ignore. It's information. But it's not the whole story. As eggs age, their quality changes. The membrane inside the shell becomes weaker. The yolk becomes more likely to break. The whites become thinner. Proper refrigeration becomes increasingly important to slow down these changes and to prevent bacterial growth. And here's the critical part. An egg can look perfectly normal from the outside and still not be safe to eat. That's why proper storage matters. Keep eggs refrigerated according to food safety guidance and store them consistently at a safe refrigerator temperature, below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. You may have heard about the famous water float test. People place an egg in a bowl of water. If it sinks and lies flat, they call it fresh. If it stands upright or floats, they say it's old or unsafe. There's a grain of truth in this test. It can tell you about the age of an egg. As an egg ages, the air cell inside grows larger, making the egg more buoyant. So flotation does indicate age, but here's the critical detail that most people miss. The float test can tell you about the age of an egg, but it cannot reliably tell you whether an egg is safe to eat. An old egg that has been stored properly in the refrigerator may float, but it could still be safe to eat. A newer egg that has been stored improperly at room temperature may sink, but it could be contaminated with bacteria, so don't use the float test as a substitute for proper refrigeration, expiration guidance, or food safety practices. Instead, follow these practices. Keep eggs refrigerated. When you bring home a new carton, use your older eggs first and place the newer ones behind them. It's a simple habit that helps prevent food waste and keeps your kitchen more organized. Discard eggs if the shells are cracked or damaged. Trust the date on the carton as guidance, but understand that proper storage is what actually keeps eggs safe. Mistake number 2, eating eggs that are still raw or undercooked. This mistake has become even more popular because of social media. The egg is cracked open, the yolk is still runny, the video looks beautiful, the food looks incredibly appetizing, perfect lighting, perfect plating, but your breakfast table is not a social media video. Your health is not a performance. Raw or undercooked eggs can carry salmonella, and this is where age becomes critically important in ways that younger people may not fully appreciate. For adults under 30 with healthy immune systems, A salmonella infection might mean a few days of discomfort and then recovery. For adults over 65, it can mean serious complications. It can mean hospitalization. It can mean lasting effects. That's why older adults are generally advised to choose eggs that are cooked until both the whites and yolks are firm. Not runny, not soft, firm. A fully cooked yolk isn't a bad thing. It's still the same egg. It can still taste delicious. You're simply reducing the food safety risk in a way that matters for your age group. I want to tell you about Elena. She's 73 years old from San Francisco, California. Elena is health conscious. She reads about nutrition. She follows food trends. She saw videos about soft-boiled eggs and runny yolks and the idea that this is somehow more nutritious or more authentic. She started preparing her eggs with runny yolks every morning, following the social media trend. One morning, she ate a soft-boiled egg that happened to be contaminated with salmonella. She didn't know. There was no obvious sign. The egg looked perfect. Within 12 hours, she had severe gastrointestinal distress. By day 2, she had a fever of 102 degrees Fahrenheit. By day 3, she was hospitalized with severe dehydration and infection. She spent 5 days in the hospital. She required antibiotics. She developed complications that took her 3 months to fully recover from. Was it the egg's fault? Not really. Salmonella contamination in eggs is rare. It happens in maybe 1 in 20,000 eggs. But when you're 73 years old with a compromised immune response, that small risk becomes consequential. The point isn't that runny yolks are evil. The point is that at 60 and beyond, the risk-to-benefit ratio has changed. You're no longer at the age where your immune system can handle this. A fully cooked yolk isn't a loss. It's a reasonable adaptation to where your body is now. Mistake number 1. Using raw eggs in traditional recipes without making them safe. And now we come to the biggest mistake. And this one isn't simply about breakfast. It's about memories. It's about culture. It's about connection. Maybe there's a special dish your mother used to make for a holiday. Maybe there's a dessert your grandmother taught you. Maybe there's a family recipe that has been passed down for generations. And some of these recipes may traditionally use raw or lightly cooked eggs. Think about homemade mayonnaise. Think about traditional eggnog. Think about certain desserts or custards that used raw eggs. Nobody thought anything was wrong because the recipe had always been made that way. Your great-grandmother made it with raw eggs. Your grandmother made it with raw eggs. Your mother made it with raw eggs. And that's exactly why this mistake can be so easy to overlook. You're following tradition. You're maintaining connection to your family. You're keeping something alive that matters to you. Raw eggs can contain harmful bacteria, including salmonella, and as we get older, the consequences of foodborne illness can be more serious. But here's the good news. You don't have to give up your favorite recipes or family traditions. One option is to use pasteurized eggs or pasteurized egg products when a recipe calls for raw or lightly cooked eggs. Pasteurization is a heating process that kills bacteria but doesn't affect taste or nutrition significantly. You can still make the dessert. You can still make the family recipe. You can still enjoy those memories. You can still pass the tradition to your grandchildren. You just make the recipe safer. I want to tell you about Rosa. She's 76 years old from San Antonio, Texas. Rosa is famous in her family for her Christmas flan. It's legendary. People ask for it specifically. It's a tradition that goes back at least 3 generations in her family. The traditional recipe uses raw eggs in the custard filling. Nobody had ever thought to change it. It was made the same way for decades. Nobody got sick, so it must be fine. But when Rosa was diagnosed with a compromised immune system related to a medical condition, her doctor specifically advised her to avoid raw eggs. He wasn't trying to take away her tradition. He was protecting her health. Rosa was devastated. She thought she'd have to give up making her famous flan, but then she learned about pasteurized eggs. She used them in her family recipe. The flan turned out exactly the same. It tasted the same. It looked the same. Her family couldn't tell the difference, and she could make it safely, knowing she wasn't putting herself at risk. That Christmas, she made her flan exactly the way she always had, but this time, she did it in a way that protected her health, and she's been doing it that way ever since. Now, 2 additional tips that can make your egg routine even better. First, if you're using refrigerated eggs, follow proper food safety handling rather than leaving them out unnecessarily before cooking. Eggs don't need to come to room temperature the way some foods do. You can cook them straight from the refrigerator. Bringing them to room temperature just gives bacteria more time to multiply if the eggs aren't perfectly fresh. Second, if you're boiling eggs, don't rely on vinegar as a way to make an unsafe egg safe. Vinegar may sometimes help with peeling or with egg whites leaking through small cracks, but vinegar cannot kill bacteria. Proper cooking and safe handling are what protect you from foodborne bacteria. The science is clear on this. So those were the 7 mistakes. 7 ways that something as simple as an egg can become a problem if it's not handled correctly. And if you change just one thing after watching this video, that can still be a positive step. You don't have to overhaul your entire egg routine. You just have to be aware of these patterns and make better choices. Remember, eggs are not your enemy. For many people over 60, eggs can be a nutritious and convenient source of protein and important nutrients. They provide vitamins and minerals your aging body needs. They support your brain, your eyes, your muscles, your bones. The key is how you handle, cook, store, and combine them. You watched this entire video, which tells me that you care about your health and the health of your family. You're not someone who ignores warning signs. You're someone who wants information. You're someone who wants to make better choices. So I'd love for you to share this video with someone you care about, especially someone who is around 60 or older. Because sometimes the greatest form of care is simply giving someone the right information at the right time. You might be preventing a health crisis just by sharing what you learned today. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. I release new videos every week that dive deep into exactly this kind of information. Health topics that most people don't get real explanations for. You deserve to understand your body. You deserve to know the actual science. And if today's video taught you something new, I'd love to hear about it. Write just one word in the comments, eggs, just that one word. I read every single comment that comes in, and it means a lot to me to know that this information is landing with you. Take care of yourself, and take care of your family too.